Okay.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We always like to start off with this amazing bonding exercise, and that is to just go around, especially because a lot of people we're expecting haven't joined us yet. We'll get this in. Let's just go around and have everyone to tell us where it is that you're joining us from, because I think it's important to see just how global this community really is. So I'm going to start at the top left of my screen, and there I have Michelle Maddox. Michelle, why don't you tell us where it is that you're joining us from?
Well, Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome. Yes, yes, my friend here in Atlanta. We just had dinner a couple of weeks ago together. It was
My
fabulous.
first vegan meal, actually.
Wow.
Nice.
I've been
Excellent.
curious about the cuisine all this time, so that was great. Great food.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Okay.
Okay,
right.
now Karen Ramsey, you are next on my board.
Hi, VLynn. I am currently in Durango, Colorado. Half my time here, or part of my time here in Durango, Colorado, and then also in New Jersey.
Ah,
Okay.
so yeah, summers in either place.
So I live in New Jersey, but I live in New Jersey, but I'm spending a lot of time out here. My family is here in Durango, Colorado. Beautiful,
Okay.
beautiful.
And we
here.
got to hang out with Karen a few weeks ago too.
Yeah.
We were at the National Health Association conference.
That was
VLynn and I
so
were,
wonderful.
we handled the digital, and then Mitali was an exhibitor. Karen was an exhibitor. And Karen has the best. What's the lettuce? Romaine burritos. Am I right?
Yes.
The romaine burritos.
Yes.
Romaine burrito recipe.
Oof, the best.
It was.
I had so many people messaging me after.
Not
Yeah,
surprised.
I still have that cute video after the three of you ate it.
Me.
Not surprised.
What was really
Yeah,
funny
that
is
was
like
fun.
Kathleen thinking that I was just saying it was amazing because I was your friend. That was the funniest thing. It's like, I thought you were just saying it's nice because you're Karen's friend.
Oh my God.
It is amazing. Eat it. And then they did.
Right.
So Mitali, why don't you tell us where you're joining us from?
Oh, I'm from Gateshead in the northeast of England.
Awesome.
Excellent.
It's so great to be with you again.
Yes.
And Shabari, why don't you tell everybody where you're chiming in from?
Yeah, so I live just outside London. It's a town called Northolt, and it's in the county of Middlesex, which apparently doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, I can tell you it very much does exist, and it annoys me when people say, "Oh no, you don't need to put Middlesex when you post something," and you know, like it doesn't exist anymore, but yeah, it's a great place, so yeah, wonderful. That's where I'm from.
Welcome.
Well, wonderful. Welcome. Great to see you again. And Myrna, why don't you go next and let us know where you're calling in from?
I'm from Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. It's the Okanagan Valley, where there's lots of wine and golf and skiing.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Just north of Kathleen.
And how far is that? What's that ski resort town that Ed's Bread is in?
I don't know. Is it Whistler?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
how
about
far
5
are you
hours
from Whistler?
for me.
Okay.
But we have better skiing than that.
Okay. And speaking of Ed's Bread, oh my gosh. Yes.
There's Natasha.
How you doing?
Oh, it's great to see you again too.
Yep, calling in here from Whistler, British Columbia, North America's premier ski resort.
and the world's premier sourdough vegan bakery. Boom.
Exactly. Kelowna's nice. Kelowna's nice, but it doesn't have our vegan sourdough bakery.
It does not.
Okay.
Thank you.
If it's not that far, it might be something that you guys want to communicate and make
have a meetup
arrangements for.
Have a meetup, yeah.
that close either. Like it's far enough. That's the problem.
Okay.
It's a good 5
Okay.
hours.
Yeah, that-
Okay.
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 And then we have
Well,
Liz.
Welcome, Natasha. Liz, why don't you tell us where you're chiming in from?
Hi, I'm in New York City.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
nice.
Okay. So, well, we have quite, we're spread over the world.
Yes,
Or
we are. And
everywhere.
Nancy, last but not least,
Oh,
where
hey.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I'm in Kathleen's backyard. I'm in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah.
ah,
Just a
Yeah.
hop, skip, and a jump. You know,
Just
it's
about.
like, yeah, where I live, we say go down Highway 58, go to the Green Bridge. Before the Green Bridge, turn left, go a quarter mile, you're at my house. Now I've given everybody directions to my house. But Nancy, you're right in Eugene, aren't you?
I am. I'm in what they call the friendly neighborhood, and it actually is friendly.
Well, yeah, it's really called the friendly neighborhood. That's near
Really?
Whitmore.
No, it's not quite that far. But
Okay.
yeah.
well,
Alrighty.
we're
Well,
glad you
welcome.
could join us. Welcome, everyone. We are actually excited about what we're going to be sharing with you today. We know that it's great information, and we are absolutely excited about what you'll be able to take away from all of this. So,
And VLynn, if I may, before we get officially started, if everybody could put in the chat, what is it that drew you to this masterclass today? What is it that you're hoping to get from today? Is it because you just like hanging out with VLynn and I, which is a good enough reason, but is it that you want to grow your business? Is it that you want to learn more about how to really get more market reach and increase your visibility and impact? What is the reason? So please put it in the chat for everybody to see.
and if you're so inclined, you can also tell us the name of your business.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. Do 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 do.
Thank you for that serenade.
Well, you know, usually you tell me, would you stop singing? We
Oh, look, wait. Okay. I was
okay.
trying to move this thing out of the way, but it's not moving. So we're going to be talking about mastering your market reach. How do you do that? And before that, why you want to do that. We've got 5 high-level strategies for you and how to optimize them to increase not only your visibility, but your impact. Because we believe that if you're out here and you're doing things and you want to be more visible in the marketplace, it's so that you can make a bigger impact in the world through the work that you do. So I'm VLynn Hawkins. I'm a digital marketer, accelerated business development coach, and what else am I? Certified hypnotherapist, certified flow consultant, and a few other things. But my goal is really to help vegan entrepreneurs to move more confidently and rapidly into this trending vegan space. And Kathleen, why don't you tell people who you are and why you're here?
Absolutely. Oh, thank you. Actually, I'm Kathleen Gage, and I am a multi-time author. I've written many, many books in the business space, in the spiritual space, and the self-help. I have been a digital marketer for over 25 years. I'm coming up on 5 years of being a vegan. Initially, I was a plant-based eater. I would not call myself a vegan because all you vegans are crazy. And then I realized, oh, I'm a crazy vegan. And it really actually happened at the grocery store when I went by the meat department. I had a very visceral response to what I saw. And I realized that the way that I was living was actually very aligned with the vegan world and the vegan lifestyle. And it's interesting because what you're going to be learning today are strategies both VLynn and I have implemented in our own businesses that took us from kind of hiding out about the fact that we're vegan to where we put our stake in the ground, no pun intended, but we literally put our stake in the ground and we said, we are vegan. We work with vegan businesses. And I know I was warned that that was the worst thing I could do in my business by very successful entrepreneurs who were not vegan. They said there's not a big enough market reach. And I will tell you that it was probably the best choice that I've made in the 30 years that I've had in business with my current business, my corporation. It probably was one of the best choices I made. It wasn't necessarily easy the first year out because I was kind of going back and forth. Once I really went into it, I'll tell you, there's no looking back, and it was a great choice. So with that being said, I'm a business consultant, a strategist. I'm VLynn's business partner, very dear friend, and I am the mom to several critters who are all rescues, including horses, chickens, dogs, and a cat currently. So with that.
So you'll get my backstory next time.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not my first slide. That's actually the next one. What we're going to cover today. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to cover it in such a succinct way that you'll be thinking about the things that you can do that you'll want to implement or investigate in order to implement at a later time. You've already heard who we are. If I go back to this screen, let me see if we forgot anything. Decades-long digital marketers, entrepreneurs, ethical vegans, and we are a real dynamic duo that wants you to be successful in what it is that you do. Our mission is to help 10,000 entrepreneurs to gain massive visibility in their businesses through the work that they do. By the end of this year, we've already impacted over 6,000 entrepreneurs. And so thank you for being here today. You're among the numbers, and those are some great numbers. We hope that you have similar goals that you're working towards. But our optimization strategies will increase your visibility and impact. And we're going to go through starting with identifying the market. What is the market? What's the appeal with this market? And if you're thinking, what market are they talking about? Hold on to that question. We're going to help you to identify your industry, because you know that there are industries within industries, right? So we can talk about the vegan industry, but within the vegan industry, there are industries. And we're going to talk about specific industry advantages based on what industry you're in. We're going to be talking about optimizing opportunities like vegan events and festivals and networking events. Going to a lot of networking events, if you say you're a vegan, how do people react to that? We'll get into some of that. Influencer collaborations. What, where, when, why, and how. But the biggest one that's not even in this list is who. Who are the influencers that you can connect with and identify with? Identify what users and clients and customers want. We were talking a little earlier about the fact that many entrepreneurs, ourselves included at one point, didn't ask our customers what it was that they wanted. We always figured we knew, and a lot of times we would produce something, a product, a program, and wonder why it didn't sell or why it didn't move into the marketplace. And that was because our customers didn't understand it. We didn't identify it as something that they felt they wanted or needed. And then we're going to wrap things up, and we're going to talk about what's next. And right now, we're just going to get right into it. We went through those 5 steps, and they really are steps. Kathleen, do you want to add to how these steps move one from the other?
Absolutely. The thing that you want to look at is, first of all, who are you in your business and what's the mark you want to leave? It occurred to me this morning when I was on my morning run that the way to win at having a joyful life is you must be present to win. What that really means is, a lot of times we're living in the past, we're living in the future, but we're not being fully present with what we're doing. And part of being present is to really identify who you are and what market do you want to actually play with, and what playground do you want to play in. And you want to really look at the industry and specific industry advantages. There's a lot of advantages to working within the vegan space. I will tell you there's a lot of disadvantages, and part of the disadvantages, it's that you need to have very broad shoulders, because you will have people that the minute you say that you work in the vegan space, they start apologizing for not being vegan, or they go, oh, I could never do that. And it's like, I'm not asking you to do it. I'm telling you what I do because you asked. And so what you're going to find is that as you start really identifying as a vegan business, if that's what you're looking to do, you will have people that fully support you in that. And they say, ooh, I've been looking for somebody like you. And then you have those people who don't want to do business with you. And to that, I say, God bless you, because we're not meant for everybody. So we're going to really look at that. How to optimize your opportunities. We're going to dig deeper into that. This one is probably one of my favorite, which is to really be present and show up at different events. So with that, VLynn, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay. Well, let's get into step number 1. Start with the market. We talked about the market and identifying the market. What would you say that the overall market is? And just unmute and say what you think. What is the overarching market that we're talking about? Okay, everybody knows the answer, because I'm going to tell you. It's the vegan market.
It's the vegan market.
It's the vegan market. But what you want to look at are the trends in the vegan market, the overall trends. You've got e-commerce, you've got direct marketing, you've got the food segment, you've got the clothing segment, you've got the jewelry segment, you've got the beauty segment, you've got what else do you have?
The interior design. We've got
interior
somebody who has the interior design.
Training.
I love what Michelle has, that she says, I'm here to learn more about the vegan living as I coach older golden years ladies. I love that. I love that, because that actually is who our market is in many ways. Not exclusively, but a great majority of our market happens to be the, like what we call the more mature audience. They don't necessarily act mature like me, but
So yeah, you've got your coaches, trainers, you've even got the medical side where you've got naturopathic doctors, you've got vegan chiropractors who will not only straighten you up, they will talk to you about how the food that you eat impacts your body structure. So identifying the overall market is one thing, but you got to understand too that each of those segments have specific appeal. We were talking about statistics just a little earlier, and the growth in the overall vegan market has grown, what, some 300% in the last 5 years?
Yeah, it's grown 30-fold since I think it was 2015 or 2005. It has grown 30-fold.
So 30 times 100 is, yeah,
huge.
3,000-fold.
Something like that.
Right? I have to get out my calculator to be sure.
Those kind of numbers kind of boggle my mind. And that actually about 15, 20 years ago, maybe it was a couple 100,000 people identified as vegan. And now it's several million in the United States is what we're talking about. Globally, it's pretty phenomenal.
And that's a consumer statistic. So if you are marketing to consumers, don't think that you don't have a market or that the market is thin. You have to work to get recognized and increase your reach, your exposure and your reach, but they are there. And, I love the fact that Kathleen in her backstory talked about how, when she first became vegan, she was like, no, I'm not identifying with them because they're crazy people. Well, I was the same way. And I felt like the vegan population were those who imposed forcefully onto others, their beliefs and their values. And that wasn't my belief or value about how people should be treated. And as I learned the ethical aspects of veganism along with the plant-based side of things, it just made so much more sense that the combination brought about peace and love and compassion. And now that we are in the age of Aquarius and Pisces is actually moving out, we are in this space energetically, as well as realistically, as well as from a leadership perspective. We're in this space of compassionate dealing with people. Our influencers want to know, how are you making an impact before they'll align with you? And the same thing happens with our customers. So what's the appeal in this market is that we all have the opportunity to increase the energy of compassion and acceptance and inclusion for all species, human, animal, and the planet. Because what we do to improve our lives as plant-based vegans improves the lives of animals, improves our ecology, our environment, the planet. Mother Earth already spoke to us about the fact that change is going to happen. She's either going to force it on us or we're going to be able to do it ourselves. And I think that she forced some of it on us. And
I think right now she is. Yeah.
She's kind of given back responsibility to us. And if we let things go back to where they were, then she's going to step up again and say, I couldn't trust you to do it. So lockdown again all over the world. I mean, that was crazy. And we have the opportunity to do better. I love the interior design. You know, you've got to be about helping people to understand what vegan inside your home looks like and feels like and lives like. And, you know, we're talking a lot about the food that we eat. That's what's happening inside of us. But there's also, you know, the clothes that we wear, the shoes that we wear. It's funny. I was telling somebody not long ago that I was looking for some new shoes. I actually had knee surgery. And I went into Skechers. I said, I need some new walking shoes. Lo and behold, they have a whole section of shoes that are vegan. And I'm like, okay, this is where I'm shopping from now on. And I want to see more of that. And I'm actually holding back from buying shoes that have not reached that point. We are in this trend, and those things and places that have reached us in this trending movement. And, you know, it's really ironic to know that T. Colin Campbell actually, and maybe it was discovered, you know, a cure for cancer, which was cruciferous vegetables. Some cruciferous vegetables actually kill cancer cells. And it's 50 years later that we are now really recognizing it in a high value state. A lot of people that have become vegan or plant-based have done it because of reading his study, the China study, and including doctors who are now out there trying to help their patients to understand the value of plant-based nutrition. And I think that all of us in this vegan space, as business owners, increasing our visibility, we are now in the trend, in the market trend, where the change that's occurring is the right place for us to step into and step up into at a higher level.
You know, you just said something that is so important, I think, for all of us to acknowledge. It's in the right place at the right time. And oftentimes people will say, oh, it's not a big enough market. Like when I was given, you know, so much warning that I would be destroying my business. Well, 9/11 turned my business upside down. I was very profitable, and then 9/11 hit. And as a keynote speaker, that was wiped off the face of the earth, literally. I lost about 80% of my revenue overnight. Then the 2008 market crash, same thing happened. And then when the shutdowns happened, I had a bunch of contracts on the table to go to conferences and speak at conferences, work at conferences, consult. That was wiped off the face of the earth. And it's so interesting because as I started looking at it, it was, to me, that was kind of a sign that now it's time for me to really step into who I am. And one of the things with VLynn and I, that since really identifying as vegan consultants, it's not that we suddenly came onto the scene and said, okay, now we're consultants. We had been consultants for decades. Between the two of us, we have about 50 years worth of experience in our current businesses. And when we made that decision, it was as if everything aligned in our favor, because there were people saying, we've been looking for people like you. We've been looking to work with people who are aligned with our values. We now have some of the largest organizations in the world that have hired us to do their podcast show, to produce their podcast show, their content marketing, their social media marketing. And what's interesting is with what we've been able to do by identifying as a vegan-owned business, and really owning that, we have created a lot of amazing opportunity. And we have actually had one-on-one conversations with the likes of T. Colin Campbell, Dr. Joel Furman, and I don't mean to be name dropping, but that's part of what really establishes why it's so important for you to say, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, and this is what I don't stand for. I've had people on my own podcast show that is a vegan identified podcast show. I have two of them. You have to be vegan to get on my show. There's no two ways about it. I don't make any exceptions. And I've had people say, well, I'm not vegan. I still eat cheese, but I can talk about what veganism is. It's like, I don't need that. I don't need somebody to just talk about it. I need somebody to live it. So part of starting with the market, what's the appeal, is that now there are people that really want to align with vegan-owned businesses and those that identify as vegan-owned businesses.
Awesome. And we talked about the overarching market, but I want you to think about the vegan market that actually comprises various customer segments, like longtime vegans. One of our clients is a 35-year vegan. Vegetarians transitioning to a vegan lifestyle, meaning they're plant-based, and now they understand the elements of veganism and they're moving in that direction and identifying as vegan. We've got vegetarians transitioning to a vegan lifestyle, flexitarians, and individuals exploring plant-based options. And those are the individuals that we are hoping to also impact, because they're who we call pre-vegans. And when you understand and you target these segments, you speak to them directly and helping them to optimize what it is that they're doing with you helps you to optimize your reach, because they're going to be saying, they get me, they understand me and what I've been through, and now I can talk about them and how others can work with them to do more.
And VLynn, I think Michelle had her hand up. Michelle, did you have your hand up?
I did.
Yes.
I really want to interrupt, but I'm listening to this and I'm thinking of one of the benefits, I'm assuming is a strong benefit, is that when you are vegan, when you're not a carnivore, your temperament, your mental health, your emotional balance is different, right?
I love that you brought that up, because if I may, and I know VLynn has something she wants to say on this, but I have a very strong spiritual foundation in what I do. I've been on a spiritual quest for nearly 50 years now. I actually ended up in Israel, where I was headed to India, but I flunked geography, but that's a whole different story. And I ended up in Israel on a spiritual quest. And what I've come to realize is the deepest level of my spiritual living was when I became a vegan and I stopped consuming dead energy. Because if you think about it, you think about the toxins in the food, you think about the energy of the animals, the fear and suffering they go through, and that goes into people's bodies.
Yeah.
And many people who are vegans, they do have other practices, which this happens outside the vegan space too, but meditation. VLynn and I are going through a program together where daily we do meditation, we do journaling, we do visioning, we do things that really are on a whole different level. And that's part of what we want to bring to the marketplace, is that awareness that, yes, Michelle, I agree with you. I do believe that there is more of a sense of calm. And for us to understand that that is the foundation of everything that we're going to be doing in the world. So VLynn, I know you want to add something to that.
Well,
Thank you for
Kathleen,
that, Michelle.
You just put that so beautifully, and that is exactly correct, Michelle. It's wonderful that you glean that from what was being said and what you've learned so far on your journey. And I really want to say that this vegan marketplace is expanding rapidly, and it's due to consumer awareness. You know more now, you're going to be searching for more. There's more people out there that are coming into this awareness. And it's not just about the food and what the food can do in your body, but it does include animal welfare. It includes all of the health benefits, because if you just started with eating better, you'd feel better. But what about the person who's already sick? And they change to eating better and they start feeling better. And in fact, like I was just saying, knowing that there's foods out there that can kill cancer cells, that can, turn around high blood pressure, that can reduce cholesterol. I mean,
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. It's when the awareness comes about that, people start asking more questions. And when they ask more questions, they're going to be looking for people who can give them some answers.
Absolutely.
And those people are us.
So, sorry, go ahead, VLynn.
Let me just finish this up by saying it's our opportunity to connect with those people, because they will also understand our values, why we're doing what we're doing. And a lot of people say, I just want to help other people, but we've also seen those people who say that, who have really just disappointed us, our politicians. And I won't say more than that, but I can really imagine how many of our politicians are plant-based vegans. There you go. That's a better circle.
There's maybe 1% of 1%,
Okay.
1%.
So I won't close the circle all the way.
Yeah. So, so that is a big part of it. And another thing that I know has occurred for me, it's happened to me, and I know it's happened with VLynn, is that as we've immersed ourselves into the vegan space, and I would invite all of you to consider this as you grow your businesses. This goes beyond just growing a business. It is about being profitable, because both of us believe in profit, because when you have profit, you can do more of what you're here to do in the world. But it's really taking it to a level that is beyond what most people view their businesses as. We really believe that we have a calling, and we're answering that calling. And part of our calling is to help our clients to see their own calling, and when they walk in fear, because there will be occasion that somebody's growing and growing and growing, and all of a sudden they're going, oh, I'm growing. It's like, what if I can't keep up with this? And our job is to hold their hand and help them to walk the next step and the next step and the next step, because there's times that and I've done this as we were growing. There was one period I said, no, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Nope, that's it. I'm not. And it was my fear because it was happening so quickly. And what you'll find is that when you're really aligned with what your mission is, it does start happening quickly. And most of the people that we deal with have a very nice foundation that they're working with, but it's to realize that you're going to be called to do things that you never even imagined. And it's all for the betterment of what the vegan lifestyle really means. So with that, VLynn, I think we better move on to step 2, or we're going to go way beyond our time. We could go, we love this. It's like we love talking about this stuff.
So let's talk about identifying your industry and specific industry advantages. You know, the digital era has revolutionized marketing, no question. And using online platforms and social media channels, YouTube, just video in general, has created the opportunity for us to reach out quickly and in a broader space. However, you get capped when you don't have the other things that we're going to talk about as far as increasing your market reach. So in the vegan space, identifying your industry, and that's the sub industry, right? The overarching industry is vegan, but you know, there's a whole, the interior design industry as a whole. You are probably less than 1% of the number of interior designers out there. And just think if you said that, you know, all of the materials that are used in any of the interior designs that I do are all vegan, they're all eco-friendly, they're all, you know, good for the environment, they're all, that is something that totally sets you apart. Those are the types of specific industry advantages that we're talking about. And as Kathleen said, you can't be afraid to step out there and say, this is who I am. As far as coaches go, we're working, one of our coaches actually said, you know, I've spent years being plant-based, but I didn't want to tell people that that's what I did. I'm a culinary expert when it comes to plant-based meals, but I kept it to myself because I was afraid of what the market would and would not accept. And then she decided, okay, I'm working with you guys because I feel like this is my time. And she stepped out, and she's actually gotten more attention since doing that. And the nice thing about it too is that you will weed out those who are not in alignment to energetically make room for all those who are. And now, does it happen overnight? No, nothing does. Well, some things do, but not this. And I loved, somebody said, Oprah, my overnight success happened over 12 years. And that 12 years was a short 12 years from the time that she started on this track. And, you know, when you think about overnight success happening over 12 years, it doesn't have to be 12 years, but it is going to require some time.
And if I may, VLynn, to add about requiring time, that's the main thing about, you know, to win at life, you've got to be fully present to win. And to win in business, you've got to be fully present and not get caught up in, is it happening fast enough? Am I going too slow? You show up, you do what you're called to do, you have your plan, because although we have a very spiritual bent to what we're doing, we pray before we send contracts out. I mean, I'll be real transparent. There are practices that we have that for some people, they're like, that doesn't work for me. And it's like, great, that's, you know, that's fine for you. But for us, we're so aligned with what we're doing that it's kind of like, let's really bring in the greatest energy that we can. And if I look back, there's a few things that took a year to manifest. But then when you look at it, you go, that happened in a year, only a year, where in previous times in my business, it might be 5 years, it might be 10 years. And it's really just, you know, to get what you need to show up every day. You need to be consistent. And I remember years ago when I bought a house and the lawn was terrible. And I had this friend that I worked with. I was at GTE Health Systems at the time. He had a beautiful lawn. And I said, how do you get a beautiful lawn? He goes, you treat your lawn like a lawn. You treat the weeds like a lawn. You just treat it like a lawn. You mow it, you know, pull the weeds, you do whatever you need to do, and eventually it will become a lawn. It's the same with business. Oftentimes when people are first new to business, they don't treat their business like a business. They don't invest in their business. They don't bring on, we're building our team. We have a beautiful team right now that we just brought a new person on last week, and we keep growing our team because we're looking to what we will need rather than only what we need right now. And that's part of how we work with our clients also, is to help them to see beyond where they're currently at. And oftentimes people say, oh, I can't afford that. I just can't afford to do it. And the question you have to ask is, can you afford not to do it? Investment in mentors, in trainings, because I look at some of the trainings that together we have invested in. And at the time it was like, okay, let's have a conversation about it to make sure that this does make sense. It's not, do we see everything right now? Because some of the stuff you don't want to see right now. You want it to unfold as you are emotionally ready to prepare to handle it. So with that, VLynn?
I want to ask you to consider who are your customers now and how are you engaging with them? Do you have compelling content that they are responding to? Do you have influencers that comment on your content if you're a content creator? Do you collaborate with vegan stores and mainstream supermarkets for your programs, products, services? I look in some of the grocery stores and they now have a book rack in them. If you're an author, is your book on that book rack? And for them to know that you're local to that specialty store just brings about so much more for you and for them. We're all about the win-win-win, right? They win, the customer wins, you win. And if there are more wins to be had, we're going for those as well. But look at the distribution channels you have for your communications, that you have for your products, your services, and ask if they are serving you. Are they doing really what you imagine that they can do? And if not, there's a reason for it. And if you need help in determining what the reason might be, we do a lot of consulting, just looking at situations like that to uncover what might be veiled for you and how to unveil it so that the energy can flow and the opportunity for, we talk about energy, and energy is constantly moving, right? Energy doesn't stop, it doesn't get destroyed, it doesn't get created, it moves. And we as individuals have energy within us, and sometimes that's why things that we're doing aren't moving, because we're not moving, our energy is stuck. And so there are things that we can do. I'm a certified hypnotherapist. There are things that you can do to open the energy in you, because everything is about resonant energy. Resonance is one of the higher level laws of the universe, and what you resonate out is attracted back to you. That's the law of attraction. The law of attraction was originally taught to be what you think is where the energy goes out and brings back to you. And that's not true. There are too many other laws of the universe that come into that. And one of the fundamentals is the law of resonant energy. And that is, who you are is who you resonate out. And who and what energy you resonate out is the energy that you attract back to you.
And so, another, if I may, VLynn? Okay, another thing that you want to look at, and I look at people like Natasha, and I look at people like Matali, who really grabbed hold of the idea of play a lot, play big, keep going. Because both Matali and Natasha, they had a goal around getting on podcast shows. And I've talked to people who have never been on a podcast. They go, oh, I couldn't be on a podcast. I've never interviewed before. And the two of them, quite seriously, there's a real parallel in their personalities of like, I've never been on a podcast before. What do I need to do? And I'm going to go play full board and play full out. And both of them had incredible opportunities show up because they didn't let their own fear, their own doubt show up. They just did what they needed to do. And did they do it perfect? I would say they did, because they did it perfectly well and they got out there and did it. Where other people I've talked to, they say, oh, no, I have to practice a lot before I ever go out and look for a podcast show. It's like, no, you just get out there, you go do it. And now there is training that you want to have around it. However, the whole point is that both of them took massive action and kept taking action each and every day. And so that's what I'm going to encourage all of you to look at is, are you playing big enough? And if you're not, you want to ask yourself why. And that's oftentimes what you have conversations with a mentor around. So, VLynn?
And your why will lead to also answers to the question of who can I partner with? Is it a specialty restaurant or a cafe or a food delivery service? Stick a coupon in that food delivery services, things that are going out to consumers. And what we've noticed is that when people discover new products, especially those that they like them because they know that they are aligned with them. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be a way for you to get your mission into your message so that people will easily understand who you are and what you're about, so that you can take advantage of these specific industry advantages. So let's talk about optimizing opportunities.
I love this one. I love this one.
Vegan events and festivals. I mean, we've all seen them. How many have been to, and I mean as a consumer, been to a Veg Fest event? Raise your hand. Okay, we're talking to the right people. Now, you've been to them. How many of us have actually participated as a vendor or a speaker or supporting a speaker? I see a couple of hands.
Mm-hmm.
And we all should be thinking along those lines, because these are the places to showcase your products and engage with the community. This is the grassroots opportunities here. Networking, unless you're, still in the online networking, which a lot is still going on and a lot of good things are happening because of it. Most networking now is back to being done face-to-face, but it's also being done differently because people don't want to just have you come up and put a business card in their hands. Right. They want to know who you are and what you're all about. And optimizing those opportunities really is about the message. How many of you have a business card that also has your mission, purpose, or some kind of message on it?
I do. I do. I know you do too, VLynn. Do you have your card in front of you and you can read what's on the back?
I do.
Okay. We both have, because we're co-founders of Vegan Visibility Productions, we had our business cards made because we're going to conferences. And on the back, we have, it could be considered a mission statement.
Committed to ethical, Vegan Visibility Productions is committed to ethical, compassionate, and sustainable business practices, offering an array of services to get you noticed like never before. We serve vegan and health entrepreneurs who want to make a bigger impact through the work that they do. Now, would somebody have a question about what it is that we do? They might if we just had Vegan Visibility Productions. Well, right. What do you do? And there's still that opportunity to answer that question, because we do offer various services. And one of them is podcast production. One of them is book authorship marketing, bestseller book authorship marketing, actually. And so, if you have a book or a couple of books, going to networking events, being able to share your mission and have your business card, then to also have a statement on it about what your purpose in doing business is all about, will get you farther than just the business card with your name,
right,
business, and phone number.
And I'd like to add to when you go to, whether it be a vegan event, a festival, a networking opportunity, one of the ways to stand out is not to try to immediately sell your products and services. It's like, oh, I want to go sell my thing. You meet somebody and you're just spewing all over them what how great you are. Best thing to do, and this is actually, I think, how we got the contract with one of our bigger clients, is that we were at another event and there was some help that was needed for this one organization. We said, at your service, what can we do? Oh, you need those boxes moved? It's not beneath me at all. If I can be there to help and make their event better, I'm going to go ahead and move that box, and I'm going to, in the meantime, get to know people. And oftentimes you'll have the greatest opportunities by volunteering at the registration desk, or by saying, hey, I've got a skill. I would love to donate my services to help you out. If it's appropriate, not always, but if it's appropriate, be willing to give before you receive, because that really is where the magic happens. People oftentimes, and be pleasant, be visible. I think I'm preaching to the choir in many ways, but it shocks me in the number of times that people miss opportunities because they go to a conference, they sit in the back of the room, they don't talk to anybody, they hang out with the same people. It's like they're shuffling from room to room and lunch to dinner and wherever they're going, instead of like, I can say with Matali, I mean, she was all over the place at the NHA conference and she talked to a lot of people. She took a lot of pictures. Karen was the same way. It's like, put yourself out there so that people do remember you. And that's one that I would say, if you're going to take something to the bank, take to the bank to be of service. And with your clients, this is something that we say to our clients when they say, oh, thank you for, whatever it is we did. And I will say, truly at your service. And I mean that. It's like I am truly at their service. And again, it's because I feel so honored to be able to raise the awareness around the vegan message. And that's why I just so love what we're doing, because we're all doing it for a higher good. And you step into that, and that's where the magic starts to happen.
Absolutely. And a lot of these things cost you nothing, but possibly a little bit of physical energy and some time, and they pay big rewards. And the thing too is, and I loved how you said that, do it without the thinking of the reward, and just be open to whatever might come in, because it might be that client that's that $1 million client that you only need one of. And they might have somebody else that then you have two of, and you just never know. So stay open to those opportunities. Now, this is
another one I love.
Influencer collaborations. Well, after you've identified the influencers, I love, Nellie said Rich Roll. She just wants to be on Rich Roll right now. Well, maybe there's something you could do, or somebody you can talk to that knows Rich, or someplace you can be. I actually know where Rich Roll will be on September 9th through September 8th through the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And at what's the farm something, but I know where he's going to be.
Is it the Farm Sanctuary?
No, it's not the Farm Sanctuary. This is Farm Sanctuary is in California.
It's JP's event.
This is in New Jersey.
Yeah.
New Jersey. But yes, he will be in New Jersey. You want the information so that you can get to New Jersey? I can get that to you.
Mm-hmm.
But, and we think that something like a Rich Roll influencer is too far beyond our reach, when actually it's not. If you were so inclined, and I've had clients do this, I've done this myself. One of the things that Kathleen and I kind of talked about was one of our clients is doing this huge cruise, and both of us weren't able to go, but one of us was. And boy, what a huge marketing opportunity for us, for one of us to be there, to talk to all of these plant-based people who are going to be there, to just be yourself. But people are going to ask you, well, what do you do? and how do you do that? And what's your biggest win doing that and stuff like that? And you will have that opportunity to share about what you've done, where you've been, when you've had an opportunity to connect, and why you're doing what you're doing. Collaborators, especially influencers, want to know your why, so that they can see if they're aligned with your why, if their values and your values are in alignment. And that's what helps them decide if they're going to support you or not.
Right. And
Go
if
ahead,
I'd like to add something to that, because one of the places that you actually have influencer collaboration opportunities is with summits, with book launches, with anthology books, anything like that. And the most important thing, we're coming up on year 3 of the Vegan Visibility Summit. And this is where we bring in leading experts that have different areas of expertise within running a business, promoting a business, growing a business. It's not about how to become a vegan or how to eat a plant-based meal or how to cook a plant-based meal. It's truly about the mechanics of growing a business. And one of the things that can happen is you'll be invited to participate in something. And if you're not able to do it, it's better to say up front, I really can't do it. I just don't have the time right now, but please keep me in mind for the future. I'll help a little bit, but I really can't commit at the level that you want. Rather than somebody making that commitment, because we actually had this happen a couple of times with people who said, oh yeah, I'll play full out. Well, they got all the visibility that everybody, let's say there's 10 people. All 10 people are getting equal visibility, and the expectation of the producers is that everybody's going to play full out. Everybody's going to market the way they agreed to. Everybody's going to contribute the way they agreed to. And then you find there's that one or two, there are those 1 or 2 people who they kind of go south. They've given you their information, you're promoting them, and then they go south, and you're thinking, wait a minute, this isn't equitable for everybody. So what happens is, in the short term, they might have gained benefit. In the long term, they never get invited back. And so that's one reason Mitali will always be invited to our events, because Mitali is a woman who says she's going to do something and she does it. Natasha is the same way. It's like, you want people who, when they say they're going to do it, they do it. And the people that might bring you into an opportunity, because the more visible you become, all of a sudden the opportunities start showing up all over the place. And this is where you have to know, what's an appropriate opportunity? What do I need to say no to? What do I need to say yes to? That kind of stuff. But when you follow through, people do remember that. And the next time around, maybe they can't bring you back on board, but they might have somebody else who's doing an event, and they say, you really need to get in touch with VLynn. VLynn's a full out player. VLynn does what she says she's going to do. VLynn is ethical, and on and on and on. So that's a really important part of collaborative partnerships. The benefit is not just in the short term. The benefit is what can happen 5 years down the road. You never know who's watching, and we're all being watched at all times.
Absolutely. Great points. And it goes back to also, where are those influencers? Well, they're podcast hosts, they're web TV show hosts, they're organizers of networking groups, live and online. They're events organizers, they're Veg Fest organizers. They're all of these influencers are leaders who are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are no longer the leaders who are doing, they're the ones that started it. There's a huge group with Dame Cordova. What's her name? Oh gosh. She started the what is the name of it? Just
the Vegan Women's Summit?
No, it's actually, her focus has been around the energy of money, and Dame DC Cordova. And she started the organization that she now just promotes, because she has groomed others to actually do the work that she did to begin it. So she started out as the leader, influencer, doer, making this happen. And then as the organization grew, as she grew, she was able to step more into the influencer only space because of what she knew she had groomed people to do to keep the organization in the event. It's an annual event. It happens in several locations around the world and has been happening now for the last, oh my gosh, 30, 40 years. And that's because of what she did initially. And sometimes we look at, other influencers and we rely on other influencers when guess what? We are the influencers.
Absolutely.
And what if we're doing the outreach to say, I'm an influencer in the vegan space and I love what you're doing. I'd love to collaborate. I'd love to have you on my podcast, or I'd love to be a guest on your podcast. I think there's such great conversation that we could have, and position yourself as the influencer to initiate these collaborations versus just thinking I've got to find the influencers to reach out to. So,
and if I may, VLynn,
Sure.
one of the things you also want to look at, like with what Natasha said, I just want to get on Rich Roll's show now, and which, that's a great aspiration to have, because I would love to be on Rich Roll's show. And I remember early on in the speaking profession, people would say, I want to, they'd write a book and they'd go, I want to get on Oprah. And it's like, okay, what have you done to earn you the right to get on Oprah? Have you been on shows in your local market? Have you been on regional shows? Have you been on national rather than international shows? And it's kind of like you just show up every day, and as the opportunity presents itself, you present in a way. And this is one of the things that VLynn and I also do, is you put yourself into the energy of who are you to have these opportunities show up. So it's not when you suddenly get on Rich Roll or Oprah or whatever it may be, Lisa Nichols, whoever it may be, that all of a sudden you're going to be this profound, very, knowledgeable person, and you have something amazing to say. It's like you start right where you're at. It's like it starts with those conversations in the grocery store. It's like, are you able to impact one-on-one at the grocery store as much as you would when you're on the Rich Roll show? And it's not that all of a sudden you go into, stage performance at the grocery store, although I do, but that's a whole different story. I actually look at the grocery store as opportunities to educate people about the lifestyle I live, because, usually I'm kind of bouncing off the walls wherever I go, and people will say, where do you get all that energy? And it's like, well, do you really want to know? And then that gives me the opportunity, when they say yes, to talk about plant-based eating, about being vegan, about ethics to the animals and all that. So you start right where you're at to build into it. Rich Roll actually wrote a book called Finding Ultra, and he actually, he's a vegan, and he did 5 Ironman competitions with one other person on the 5 islands in Hawaii in a 7-day period. And he got on Time magazine as the healthiest man in the world when he was like 45 years old. He's got an amazing podcast show that started out in the vegan space, and now he just interviews people that have a fascinating story to tell. So he is actually a pretty amazing man who has earned his position in society. He has done some pretty amazing things. So I would recommend that you check him out. He's pretty amazing.
Check him out on YouTube. And, when you think about people who you aspire to be, that Rich Roll just shows up for you one day, right? He's had a history. He's had almost a decade in the podcast area. So he's put in his Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours and then some.
And also he's in recovery, and he didn't hide that. A lot of people say, oh, I can't air my dirty laundry. The one thing that I was taught early on about airing dirty laundry is, what is your motive? Yeah, when I had a coach who was in the speaking world, she said, whenever you go on the platform, and a podcast is a platform, when you go on the platform and you share a story, what is the motive for sharing the story? And if your motive is clear and clean, then share the story. And with Rich Roll, he is in recovery. And that was one thing that I resonated with him when I read his story. It's like, I like this man because he came from a dark story to a very light man. Okay, thanks, Myrna. Get the recording. Okay.
Thanks, Myrna. We will make sure you get the recording, and everyone will get the recording, because we know that there are going to be some parts that you're going to want to listen to again.
Mhm.
And even more than that, we want to stay in touch with you. So let's get to the next piece here,
Number
because
5.
again, as you can see, we have a lot that we can say about all of this. And I think I mentioned this a little earlier about identifying what your users, clients, and customers really want. And it's actually quite the key to your success, because this is an area where you can leverage user-generated content, because it doesn't necessarily have to be generated by your users, but rather for your users. And how do you do that and know that you're getting the right stuff out to them? And that's because you're looking at what are the top conversations that your users are in? What do they want? What are the top trends in the things that they want? You know, one of the things we saw at the NHA conference was Vitamix. And I was astounded to see the number of people that had Vitamix mixers that were older than 20 years old. And, you know, it spoke to the audience, but even more than that, it spoke to, and these are people who had an old one that were also buying new ones or had bought a new one. I remember talking to one lady, she had 3 Vitamix machines. And I'm like, really? They just happened to do that well for her.
Mhm.
But the question for me was, what did you want that you bought the first Vitamix? Well, I wanted to make my baby's food. Well, what did you want when you bought the second one? Well, I wanted to make better smoothies for me, my old machine and the baby food and all the stuff that I was doing with it, I needed to upgrade. And then the third one was, what did you want when you bought this newest one? Well, there's new technology and I want the new technology. I want it to be easier to use now. So your customers will tell you what it is that they want in your products and your services. And it's up to us to find that out and then implement it in what we're doing. So how do you find that out? Well, you conduct surveys, you conduct polls, you do giveaways to find out how many people are interested in this thing. Along with your giveaway, maybe you do a survey and say anybody that answers the survey will get this thing. There are numerous ways to do that. You can do polls. One of the things that we like to do is polls. And one of the biggest things we like to do is find out what the biggest aha moments were for someone, what the biggest questions were for someone. And for us, it's about continuously innovating and developing new products that are that lead into our services. So we've got digital courses, we've got ebooks, we've got videos. We do a weekly live on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and we focus on 1, 2, or 3 tips, strategies that we want to share that are based on a certain topic that we actually deliver during that 20 to 25 minute live that we do. We get excited sometimes and we might go to 30 minutes, but
VLynn, may I want to pop something in here, and I'm going to kind of do a quick download, and this is for Liz, and I would encourage everybody to think in terms of your own business. That I'm going to give Liz just some tips on how to gain that visibility. And this is just strictly a download that I'm getting. And I just felt called to focus on interior designers. That's what you do, right, Liz? Okay. Okay, because that's kind of out of the realm of what most people think about with vegan businesses. So what I'm going to recommend you do is see if there are any other interior designers in the industry. Then and I want you to write this down. Go ahead and write down what I'm going to give you, because I'm going to give you some strategies right now. And this would apply to everybody. Mitali, this would apply to you within the publishing industry. Karen, this would apply to you within the coaching industry. Whatever your business is. Okay, the first thing is find other people who might be doing what you're thinking about doing. Then you do a search on them, find out what podcast shows they've been on. If they've been on that podcast show, there's a real good chance that you may have an opportunity to be on that same podcast show, as long as you have a different angle. Find out if they've written articles for trade journals. Find out if they've written articles for blogs. Do they do social media? If they do, what have they done? Because if they have a formula for success, you can model after that formula for success. But most of all, you might even try to go outside of just the vegan space. I'll give you a great example. My sister is a fine artist. She is truly a fine artist. She is a working artist. She is a very successful artist. She gets commissioned. When she first really put herself out there, she's in her 70s now, and she really came into her own in her 60s, but she's been an artist all her life. Ever since I can remember, she was always creating art. She used to go to weekend craft fairs, and she would take her beautiful artwork and she would have people walk by and go, I could do better than that. My God, I would never pay that much for that. Oh my God, I can't believe that and within earshot. And it really hit her self-esteem. And I said, then quit going to craft shows. You don't belong. That's not your market. And so she had to really decide, where does her market hang out? It's everything that we've already talked about. Where do they hang out? And what she found out is that a lot of them had attorneys, a lot of them had accountants, obviously all of them did. They went to higher end restaurants. So she would go to a higher end restaurant. If she saw a blank wall, she'd go to the manager. Excuse me, I noticed that you have a blank wall there, and I have a beautiful piece of artwork. I think that would look very nice there. May I put it up at no charge to you? And if I sell it, I'll give you 50% of the sale. And she started building a name for herself within her market. She went with something that was a little out of the box. So Liz, what I'm going to encourage you to do is look for those opportunities to follow somebody who actually has done the same thing, and then to think in terms of, what level of interior design do I do? Who is my market? Where do they hang out? And where do I need to showcase my material? So with that, VLynn, I'll give it back to you.
That's beautiful. And if I may add to that,
please,
to expand that opportunities list, look at companies that are B corporations. B corporations are incorporated with a specific purpose to be benevolent organizations, meaning they work towards their purpose. Typically, you will find that those organizations also are something else. Like, I'm sure you've heard of Avocado Mattress Factory. They are a B corporation. And when Avocado first started out, they were very much like you, looking for, who do I connect with? Where do I find them? And they went the long way around trying to find places. And they did that thinking that it was to their disadvantage, when actually it was to their advantage, because they left a footprint that was easily picked up. They planted seeds a lot of places that were easily picked up. And they talked about their benevolent journey. They talked about where they were sourcing their materials from. They talked about why they were sourcing their materials from specific places, like their bamboo came from this place, and what they paid for their bamboo in that place, what it did for that community. And those are the things that in this space, ethical, vegan, plant-based space, we have to point to those things that are benefiting from our work beyond ourselves. So if you are sourcing your products from people who have their own shop and they're all vegan and they do this, focus on bringing them into your story.
Mhm.
That will
Okay.
also help.
Now, before we move on to the next slide, what I'd like people to do is write down one thing that you've gotten from today that you think is going to help you in your business. Not think, but just one thing, because we want market feedback. We want to know, did we serve you? Did we achieve the outcome that you were looking to have achieved? And if you could put in the chat area, what's one thing that you got from today that you really know is going to help you?
Sub niches. I
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank
Yes.
you, Nancy.
Yes. And I'm
Okay.
going to jump to the next slide because that actually in our wrap up, and maybe what we'll do is kind of just go through this really quickly. Looking at the market, what is the appeal in the market? And always, go outside of yourself to put yourself in the place of the market. What is my appeal for connecting with this business? And when you answer that question for yourself, you have identified the place you can enter in that marketplace and the conversation that you might be able to have. Especially when you're looking at specific industry advantages, look at how does this specific industry look from the other side. I'm in it and I'm looking at you and what you do. How does that connection work? And optimizing events and networking.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. That's huge, especially if they're large. I've had a lot of people tell me, I don't like doing large events. I don't like going to large events, whether it's Veg Fest events or anything like that. And it's like, well, how do you expect to grow your market reach if you don't reach into the market? And so if that is something that you actually find is an issue or a challenge for you, let me kind of give you something else to think about. And that is that when you go into places like that, with the knowledge that the one person you were supposed to be there to meet is the person that you're going to meet, the rest doesn't matter. And if you go in and you talk to one person, you share what you do, who you are, what you bring to the marketplace with one person. If you're an exhibitor, talk to everyone, and not everybody's going to be interested, and that's okay. You be okay with that. Then you know that if not this, the next one, and it's going to be a better opportunity. Influencer collaborations. I love thinking about how connecting with Rich Roll is going to do something. Consider this. It's still going to be like the Oprah effect, right? You know what the Oprah effect is? Oprah has had some vendors, whether they be coaches or product providers, on the Oprah show, and she opened them up to her millions market, and people liked what they did, and they came in, and it was overwhelming to serve all of these people that Oprah actually experienced people imploding and suing her. And yeah, exactly. And so, are you ready for the Rich Roll, or do you need to step up to,
Bingo.
somebody here and then Rich Roll, because now you're ready? I think that if you're ready for Rich Roll, then you need to be at this event that he's going to be at. There's a limited number of people who are going to be there. He's going to be there the entire time. You will have an opportunity to meet him, to talk with him. And I think that that's one of the reasons that he's going there. I know that there are a couple other big name people that go there just to be able to connect in a smaller environment with people and start new lasting relationships. And so identifying what your users, your clients and customers really want, do the polls, do the surveys. People come onto your list. And one of the things that I honestly used to be paranoid about was asking them, did you like the event? Was it helpful for you? And we cannot afford to do that any longer.
Right.
When you reach a certain point of leadership and you want to penetrate the market, increase your reach, you have to be willing to risk that. And, it's this whole idea of, I really take to heart what people think about me. And then somebody said, it's not your business what other people think about you. It's only your business what other people think about the job that you're doing because of the work that you do. And then you have the feedback to be able to improve, right? No feedback, no idea of how to improve. So with that wrapping it all up, we got
the biggest takeaway.
What do we got, Kathleen?
I jumped ahead. We've got, let's see. What we've got here is sub niches, and Matali says really drilling down and identifying what people want. That's huge. Tell others what I have done for the community. Thank you. And Karen says, I really like the influencer collaboration. I haven't done enough of that. And participate more actively in events. That comes from Liz. And then Charmaine says, I do vegan food festivals for outreach and for my business. It's good to see that as an option in your presentation. And I do want to also go back to the whole thing, the Oprah effect. I remember watching the Shark Tank early on when it started, and it always shocked me when there was somebody doing a presentation and I would do a search, go on their website. They didn't have an opt-in form. It wasn't optimized. They weren't prepared for the traction. And so you want to make sure that you work through the kinks. It's like we're in the process of going through some amazing growing opportunities in our business. And there's some kinks we're working through. And those are things we know that we need to pay attention to, because if we pretend like it's not a problem, it's going to be a huge problem. If we nip it in the bud and we take care of it, then it's not a problem. So be prepared for that opportunity when it shows up. And actually, we do some other training where we get into about, what marketing material you need, what you need to have on your website, all of that kind of stuff. And VLynn, I'll turn it back over to you with the gift that we're going to give everybody. This is our gift to you.
Yes, we have an amazing gift for you. We actually talked about 5 high-level market reach strategies. And one of the things that we also decided was, let's build the front end of this too. So we wanted to share information about what the foundational strategies to optimize your market reach are. And we've got an ebook that is in the final stages of development. Well, it's developed. It just needs to finish being prettied up. And we are going to send that to you as a gift for joining us today. And with that, it's going to be all about what it is that you really need to do as the base level.
And that'll be, if I may, VLynn, it'll be ready in about 48 to 72 hours. And that's one thing we've learned is there's things that we're qualified to do. We have no business doing it. That's what you have a team for. You make sure that you don't do the time-consuming tasks, that you can actually have somebody on your team and give them great job security.
Exactly.
So please go ahead.
So just know that is coming.
Yes.
And then one of the things that we always do and never leave out is what's next. So the next step for you is the opportunity to join us in the Vegan Visibility Productions 4-week program called Visibility Amplified.
And I know that Matali and Karen are already signed up for it, so you don't need to do anything. We'll be seeing you in the 4-week course.
And let me see. So
Can
this
you open
isn't
that up?
sharing. So I need to share a new screen here really quickly. And there we go.
Okay.
So you want to walk people through this, Kathleen?
You bet. If you could scroll down, this is a 4-week live training where you will have VLynn and I for 4 weeks. On Wednesdays I believe it's Wednesdays on, it says it right there, Wednesdays, August 9th through the 30th. And it goes from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Pacific, which is noon to 1:30. And it may go a little bit longer, so have a little extra time. We'll do 60 minutes of training. We'll do Q&A. And this is where we really let you roll up your sleeves, and we roll up our sleeves and we just dig in and we give you very specific strategies on how to grow your business. Now, what I would invite you to consider is VLynn and I were unknowns in the vegan space. Me about 2 years ago. VLynn, how long has it been for you when you were really an unknown in the space?
A year ago, before,
Okay.
just before we when we connected, my status elevated, and I made it a point that this was where it is that I am to be. And we both went full board ahead.
So let's say we'll split the difference about a year and a half of being complete unknowns to now we're very well known within the space, and not as well known as we will be in the next 5 years. We set very specific goals around how many people we're going to impact. VLynn mentioned that it's 10,000 vegan entrepreneurs this year, and we've already impacted 6,000. We have very specific goals. We both are, we're going to be 70 next year, both of us, which is really cool. And our goal is to have a 7-figure business together by the time we turn 70. We are well on track to be accomplishing that. We have very specific goals for the first 6 months, the first year, the first 18 months, and then into the second year. And so we are living proof that the strategies that we're using definitely work. And that's what we're going to teach you in this course. Now, when you go to reserve your spot, the course is $697, but we're going to give you $400 off. And you just need to copy that coupon code VVP Visibility 400 off. VLynn told me it was a little too long, and it's like, I sometimes go on and on and on. It's the same with a coupon code, but that is the coupon code that will give you $400 off. And again, Karen Ramsey is already signed up. Matali is already signed up. And we would encourage those of you who really want to jumpstart your business to go ahead. And if you could give them, what is the URL? It's the URL. That's the Kartra one. I know we have.
Wait, here it is. Let me grab it real quick. To copy and paste it into the chat. Give me
Okay,
a
and
minute.
if you could go back to the landing page, and I'll just
Yeah.
go through very quickly some of the things that we're going to be covering.
Where did it go? All right,
Well,
I know how to do
Go
this.
ahead and bring up the
Hang on.
page if you would, and I'll just go through. There it is. Nope, that's not it.
There it is.
Okay, that's the Kartra one, which is not the
It's
vegan.
the landing
visibility.
page. What are
Yeah,
you talking?
the URL for them to, the veganvisibility.com/.
Let me put it in the chat. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
I have to go and grab
Okay,
it from
okay.
somewhere.
If you want to close all that, unshare your
Here it-
screen if you
here
would.
it is. Okay, give
There
me,
it is. There it is.
and why can't I get it? There we go. And I'll put it in the
Okay,
chat.
perfect, perfect. Okay, there it is. Okay, if you could go back to the page, and I'll go through a couple of things real quick. Okay, scrolling down. So what we'll go through is really how to plan for the next decade in your business, because some people say, oh, you can't plan beyond a year. Yes, you can. You have to have a long-term view and then reverse engineer it, being fluid enough that as things change, because it's a very unpredictable world nowadays. And the best thing to predict success is to create success. We're going to really get into niche marketing and niche mastery. And if you could scroll down a little bit. and the audience impact, mastering the art of podcast appearances. Excuse me. That's where Matali really crushed it. I think you've been on 100 podcasts. You were within like a year, 18 months, something like that. And it's not because it happened by chance. It's that you had a very specific goal. And a lot of times people say, oh, I'll just let success happen to me. It doesn't work like that. You have to have your plans. You have to have the milestones that you're going for. And if you hit it, great. If you don't, you figure out, what do I need to tweak and what do I need to make difference? Podcast appearances. Between VLynn and I, we've been on I know I've been on well over 1,000 shows between my own show and other shows. VLynn's been on a boatload of them. Authorship. This is a big one. We have some exciting things coming with authorship, but this is one. If you really want to establish yourself as an expert, Liz, you need to be an author. Liz Shabari. Karen, I know, is already an author. I know Matali is. But that really is something that people say, oh, I could never write a book. And to that I say, bunkers, you can. You can write a book. And there's all sorts of tools nowadays that can help you, but really being a credible expert requires that you do content creation, and authorship is part of that. Moving down. Then crowd power. This one is VLynn's area of expertise. It's to do with crowdfunding. And let's say you have a book that you want to launch. What better to launch it with than with a good crowdfunding campaign that is very strategic. And one thing you'll find with VLynn and I both is that we're very, very strategic in what we do. We have a lot of fun in what we do, but we're very clear on what needs to happen in order to achieve the outcome we're looking for. We're going to talk about Synergy Unleashed, crafting a visionary visibility roadmap for your vegan business. So those are some of the things that we'll be covering. I think there's a little bit more down at the bottom of the page, if you could scroll down. And that's it. So use that code VVP. And let's see, it's right there. Go up right there. VVP visibility. 400 off, and that will get you $400 off the $697. So with that, we have a client call coming up. So we're going to have to call it a day. Thank you all for sticking around. I know a few people had to leave early, but appreciate.
Excuse me, if I may. We would like to ask if there are any questions, if anything came up that you had a question about. Now is your chance to ask, get clarification, get a resource link. And if not, then Kathleen, thank you for wrapping us up so beautifully.
I see Karen's sweet husband back there. He keeps popping in and out. So thank you all very much. How are you? Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. And for those of you who will be joining us in the live ongoing training, we welcome you in, and we look forward to working with you, and we'll be sending you information on other events that we're doing. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. And you'll get the replay on this within 24 hours.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Take care.
Kathleen. Thanks, VLynn.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Karen.
Okay.
Bye, Karen.
All right. Let me stop the recording. I want to